Hi, my name is Dr. Anuj Puri. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at the Tilburg Law School, and I'm here to welcome you to a conversation with my colleague, Dr. Annelieke Mooij, who is an assistant professor here at Tilburg Law School. And I'm very interested in finding more about her DIGI-APPS project and how we can welcome our public values into virtual reality and metaverse. Annelieke, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So to help us get started, perhaps you could tell us a bit in terms of what is metaverse, what is virtual reality?
Yeah, that's an excellent place to start. So when we talk about virtual reality, we mean any virtual environment that we can access through, for example, a virtual headset, but also through a phone in cardboard glasses. And what happens is you enter this environment, you can interact with it, and it replaces your physical surroundings with digital surroundings. And that's really virtual environment. And it's quite different from metaverse.
And to help us understand, how would metaverse be different from this?
Yes, so metaverse is bigger than VR. When we talk about VR, we really talk about a single virtual environment. Whilst metaverse is bigger, it's the underlying infrastructure where all of these environments are connected. And what makes metaverse truly unique is its interoperability. So think about web browsing today. You hop from one website to the other, you have to create different accounts, log in again. With metaverse, you can actually take your information seamlessly from one environment to the next, including your avatar, your personal profile, your virtual assets. Everything moves with you.
Great. So is the metaverse fully developed yet?
No, it's not. So it's still in its infancy, but there are huge potentials, including shopping, but also think about concerts from your couch, which you can access, but also from the leisure activities more to the professional activities. So you see the rise of virtual classrooms, virtual offices that allow co-workers to work from home, but are virtually connected.
So I'm just wondering, how is this different from other digital environments or digital platforms?
That's a great question. Then there's actually two main differences. The first is immersive and hyper-realistic. So hyper-realistic means that we have difficulty sometimes distinguishing from physical and virtual. And this makes it a little scary because we don't really know what that does to our brain. And there is some research that suggests that our brains react far more strongly to this hyper-realistic content rather than to our traditional 2D screens. Now, the second main difference is that people can actually quite easily build their own virtual realities. With just a few tools, everyone can add a reality or content to the metaverse, meaning that we get a lot more people producing content.
So that's really helpful. It sounds like there are some potential opportunities and there are a lot of concerns as well, which brings us to the age-old question of regulating technology. And should we regulate metaverse?
Yes, we definitely should regulate metaverse. If we look at older examples of social media platforms, we do see potential risks of not regulating. Think about, for example, youngsters who through algorithms have been made addicted to these platforms and have led to a decrease in their self-esteem. Think about platforms who promote, or their algorithms promote certain content, usually content that affirms your own ideas, creating these echo chambers for extremism, which led to, for example, COVID protests, which were far more extreme than we've seen in the past. But think also about other questions that are still uncertain. So the more we move into this virtual environment, the more we value our digital assets, the more we can spend on digital assets. Yet regulation about ownership, virtual money laundering regulation, it's all still very much in its infancy, leaving both the user, the individual user, but also society at large at risk.
And I'm wondering, what would this potential regulation look like? Should we consider a ban on the metaverse?
It does sound a little bit like we should ban the metaverse, but no, there's also huge positive opportunities actually. Think about a virtual courtroom where vulnerable people don't have to travel towards courts, or we don't have to put in the costs of moving high suspect targets. Or think about democratic discourse and bringing together a whole European audience to talk to their legislators and to their members of parliament in an environment where translation is incorporated. So there's huge potential to transform democracy. And the fun part about that is you don't have to fly. So there's no emissions for that, and it can be at reduced costs. Now, one of the difficulties, though, to keep in mind is energy. So there is the hidden cost of energy that is needed in order to generate and sustain virtual environments.
It seems to me that there's indeed this tricky balance when it comes to regulating. How does your research help with that? And could you tell us a bit about the DIGI-APPS project?
Yes, of course. So the DIGI-APPS project stands for the Digital Governance of the Internet for an accessible, protected public sphere. Now, we've defined public sphere as any virtual or digital environment where users can enter either without the need for registration or when registration is validated without human discretion, so automatic or without discretionary choice. So then from the public sphere, the project is examining how we can ensure accessibility. Accessibility in the age of net neutrality, where big tech is gaining a bigger role over the infrastructure and over the data that's being sent through the internet, but also accessibility to people, for example, who are prone to epilepsy or prone to ADD, or people who might not feel comfortable using technology, such as the elderly. So how do we create accessibility for all people involved? But also protected. And protected is a very important aspect. And protected should be interpreted to ensure people's safety online. So think about ensuring that there's not too much hate speech, or people are being bombarded with discrimination or violent content. And this is something that the DIGI-APPS is looking at: regulation and governance, at newer regulation and forms of governance. Think about digital agenda of the European Union, such as the AI Act or the Digital Services Act, but also the more established laws and rules that we already have, such as fundamental rights, copyright law, all these kinds of laws that we already have. The project examines, is this enough? Do we need new rules? How should we interpret these laws and regulations? How should we govern them in order to bring our public values and our public rights and protections into this digital and virtual sphere?
It sounds like a really challenging and a very laudable project that you've undertaken.
Thank you.